Welcome back to the Relentless Minds podcast. I am your host, Lori Jimenez. I created this platform with a sole mission, and that is to inspire people of all backgrounds to create the change they wish to see in their lives and in the world by sharing the examples of those who are. As a listener, you will hear the stories of ordinary men and women with extraordinary stories of overcoming adversities in order to experience the life they dream of. All of these individuals share a common interest. They desire a change for the better, and they are in a relentless pursuit to create that for themselves. If you're looking for inspiration to overcome challenges in your own life to create a life that you desire to have, then you have come to the right place. You see, the truth is, people everywhere are fighting for what they believe in, and together, with relentless action and mental strength, I have no doubt that we can fulfill that dream. Welcome back to the Relentless Minds podcast. This is your host, Lori Jimenez. This is episode 3 of a 4-episode series covering the stories of genocide survivors in honor of April being Genocide Awareness Month, as well as it being the 26th anniversary of the genocide in Rwanda. In today's episode, I sit down with Liliane Pari Umuhoza, who was only 2 years old when the genocide against the Tutsis happened in Rwanda. She grew up facing the consequences of that atrocity in every aspect of her life, due to the mental and emotional damage it created in the survivors of her community. Being able to access psychological support during her adolescence helped her greatly to process her emotions and thoughts. This inspired her to work towards making resources and help available to other survivors who also deal with their own emotional pain and mental trauma. In 2017, Liliane founded the Women Genocide Survivors Retreat, which serves to provide psychological support to women by giving them time and space for self-expression. With the guidance of counselors, they help each other heal. They are also trained for income-generating activities for financial sustainability. Liliane has hosted 2 retreats in Rwanda to date, one in 2017 and one in 2018. In this episode, Liliane openly discusses her personal journey of healing her trauma, as well as bringing awareness to mental health in difficult times and the importance of being there for one another. Let's start the conversation. Liliane, thank you so much for being here today. I truly appreciate you taking the time out of your day to sit with me and do this interview where we can talk more about the Women Genocide Survivors Retreat that you founded in 2017. I'm excited for us to get into that conversation and to learn about the work that you're doing in order to help women to heal and to really process trauma and pain that they've experienced during genocide. And so thank you. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely.
Really an honor.
And so to start off, I wanted to go back because you have an incredible story about your own personal experience, having survived the genocide against the Tutsis in 1994, where nearly 1 million Tutsis were murdered. And in that number were also your parents. I would like you to talk to us about the challenges that you experienced growing up and how that led to an inspiration to create later in your life this retreat.
So yes, 1 million Tutsi were murdered in 100 days. That's a really, really big number in 100 days. And I lost my father, and actually I was lucky to survive with my mother. So of course, as a young genocide survivor, I was too young to remember what happened, but like all the other young genocide survivors, we grew up facing the consequences of the genocide in every aspect of life. One, we were raised by the people who have seen every single thing that happened. Like, if I take an example of my mother, like, she was able to escape and go to our neighboring country, DRC, in Congo, holding a 2-year-old baby, me. Also that the escaping was not easy because there were roadblocks everywhere. So if it's somewhere where you would travel for an hour, it would take you days and days to be able to escape. And some people didn't even make it to trying to go to escape. So we were lucky that we made it and we were able to go to DRC in Congo and live there as refugees for some time until it was safe enough to come back to Rwanda. So that was one, being raised by the people who are heartbroken, who are traumatized, and who are trying to be mothers at the same time, but they are heartbroken. And we were raised in a country that had lost the social fabric. that was starting from zero to be a country again, and in a community that had lost faith in humanity. Everyone was really affected in one way or another, and people were trying really to see if the next day is gonna happen. It was just in the survival mode. That's the kind of life that people were living. So my personal story is that my trauma started to really be very obvious when I was becoming an adolescent, because that's the time where you're becoming mature, but you were also confused, that stage.
Yeah.
And I think what made my trauma really intense was that I was trying to make sense of something that would never make sense, the genocide. Trying to make sense of why a human being will kill another human being because they're different. And there's some differences that doesn't make even sense. And why a neighbor would kill another neighbor. I heard that my father was killed by our neighbors and close friends, and that's a common story for many survivors. And I was trying to make sense of why us versus them mentality can lead to such something like the genocide. And that was really traumatic for me. And my education is the first thing that was affected by my trauma. And because I was an adolescent, people was connecting my adolescent stage with the way that my trauma is making me act, my reaction to the trauma. And there was no therapy, any form of psychological support. And I had a lot of friends. I had my mom, I had people around me, but I couldn't find anyone who could really understand the battle that I was fighting, because even myself, I didn't know how to articulate the feelings that I had. So I was fighting a battle with myself, and that nobody knew about. And I was really smart in school. Since I started school, I was among the first students. Then when I was in the 7th, 8th grade, so that's when I started really to perform poorly in school. And when my education was affected, I really lost hope completely, because that was the only tool I had in my hand to be able to get to the future that I was yearning for. We were poor. I was being raised by a single mother. We didn't have any other thing apart from the little income that my mother was making for work. So education was the only thing, the only opportunity that I could see at that moment in my hands to be able to have a better future. And so when it was affected, it was really affecting my emotional well-being as well. And I remember going through depression, anger, frustration, confusion, nightmares, and I didn't know that it was even trauma. Now that I go back and after I was able to access therapy, that's when I realized that all those things that I used to face and to go through were trauma, but I didn't know what it was. For me, I was calling them weird feelings because I didn't know what it was. So yeah, that was my childhood.
Interesting. I'm really interested in the fact that I've heard this from the other women that had survived the genocide, from Console and Jacqueline, about how, they saw it as well. Children who didn't experience or weren't aware truly of what was going on during the genocide, or maybe not even were just infants during the genocide. Later on in life, they were dealing with trauma. This trauma of the parents that were raising them, of their neighbors that had survived and that had gone through that. And my question to that is, how did you feel that weight? Why did you feel the trauma, in overall communities? If you could paint a picture in our heads.
Surprisingly, you couldn't see anything outside. That's why even the people around me could even see that I was fighting that battle. I think it's also something that's part of our culture, where you have to hold everything within yourself, because that's what strength means. So for us, vulnerability is not strength. You cannot tell people that you're struggling, because that's weakness.
Wow.
That's how our culture is. So even until today, even after the genocide, you couldn't tell that people are struggling. People were trying so hard to hold it together, to not let the world know what they're going through, because that's the culture, unfortunately. So the people around me all seemed okay. I seemed okay too. People couldn't tell that I wasn't okay. So it wasn't something that you couldn't see with the eyes, but inside people were struggling. And trauma is not something that you can hide forever. You cannot put it under the rug forever. You will try to act okay, but it will show off someday. And if I take like myself, like my mother, I can never think of the strongest woman in this world without thinking about my mother.
Wow.
She really tried to really hold it together, of course, the culture and everything, but also I think naturally she's really a strong woman who always tried to be positive no matter what, even until today, whenever there are challenges that she's facing or that we're facing together as a family. She's always positive. Also, she's a very religious person. Okay. So that also, how sometimes faith gives you gives you hope, and strength that then people will be like, why are you
they
getting
can't
that
understand.
Yeah. So actually my childhood, no matter how challenging it was also beautiful. It was really beautiful. I grew up, even though we didn't have anything. Now I always tell people how I realized that we were poor now. But I've never seen myself as a poor kid when I was growing up. But we were really poor because I grew up with so much love around me. My mother, really, I don't know how she was able to give me love. But that's what happened with a lot of mothers. They really try to give love to their kids, the mothers who are survivors. That's what I'm talking about. And now when I think about it, I wonder, it takes courage to be able to give love while you have lost faith in humanity. Yep. Not only me, even the people around us. She supported other family members who were orphans, who didn't have anyone. So my house was really, really full. I wasn't the only one in the house, actually. So it was also the same in the community. People were really like smiling and laughing, and
that's incredible. I definitely have been amazed by reading the stories of women that were able to just provide so much when they themselves were breaking inside. Yes. And it's incredible, and it's just like it just comes to show the strength of women in this world, and what they're capable of, because they're the ones that everyone leans on in these times of crisis, and so. But in your case, you were then dealing, in your adolescence, you were dealing with so much trauma. You didn't know how to process it. Yes. And it was affecting your education and basically what you were looking at as your future, right? What was it that you had to go through in order to start to heal? How did you find that opportunity for yourself?
Yeah, so I went to a high school in Rwanda called Agahozo Shalom Youth Village, ASYV. This high school was founded by a woman called Anne Heyman, who unfortunately passed away 6 years ago. She's an American Jewish, and when she heard about the stories of Rwanda, the history of Rwanda, the genocide, and then she asked, what are the challenges that Rwanda is facing today after the genocide? Because as someone who's Jewish, who knows the history of the Holocaust and who knows how the consequences are like forever, she knew that people are still struggling. And she was told that young people, to manage orphans and the young genocide survivors, is one of the challenges that the country is facing. And she tried to see how she can be supportive. So she started that high school, and I was lucky to be part of it. And as someone who knows really what being a survivor is and the power of therapy, the foundation of everything of that school was therapy.
Interesting.
It was tikkun olam and tikkun alev, which are Hebrew words. So tikkun alev is heal the heart, and tikkun olam is to heal the world. Because the mentality was that the survivor, everyone who have gone through something like a genocide, need healing first, right? Which is to heal the heart, tikkun alev. Then those people, once they're healed, they'll be able to heal the world as well. They'll be able to do amazing work that can change the world. And that's what happened. Yeah. I am one of those. I'm one of
one of these incredible
for that.
Jacqueline, Consolé, Placide. Yeah, I've seen it that. It creates a bigger purpose in your heart to go out and do something.
It does. And so that high school, that's where I was able to access therapy for the first time. When I went to that school, I was 14. Okay. So that's the first time that I was able to have access to therapy. So the rhythm of my life was restored, but I started to do great in school again. And I started to really go through to push through the journey of healing. Yeah, so that was one, therapy, but also being together with other young genocide survivors, when you share the same, almost the same background and stories in common, it was really another form of healing, which is I met a lot of young people who grew up in orphanages. And I was like, okay, so now that's why I always say I was lucky and blessed to survive with my mother. Every time I say I survived with my mother, I always say I was lucky and blessed to survive with my mother, because many of my peers, they grew up in orphanages, or they became the mother figures or father figures to their siblings at a very, very young age. If I say young age, 7 years old. I have a best friend who became a mother figure to her siblings at the age of 7. Yeah, so being able to be with others and share our stories was a healing, and also to access therapy was another way that I was able to push through the journey of healing.
Wow. And so you were able then to have this opportunity to have the therapy and also be with your family. And so when you were able to access this and start to heal, what did you start to discover for yourself? How did it shape and mold your perspective of the world and how you wanted to show up in the world?
Yeah, when I was really starting to go through the journey of healing, it was a huge relief. And the first relief that I really felt was when I first opened up and shared my story with and that was a friend, then my therapist. And that was like taking off a very heavy luggage off of my shoulder. That was the feeling. And with time, the more I shared my story and the more I went through that journey, I really learned the power of sharing our stories and the power of mental wellness. From a personal perspective.
Absolutely.
There is so much point. It's actually the foundation of a human being.
Wow.
Everything, my life really got back together. Yeah, my adolescence was not fun. You know how when you're an adolescent, you were just, it's fun, right? Sometimes,
you're like experimenting, you're going out and just being young.
No, that wasn't me. So
you were growing up too fast.
Way too fast, too fast, and not in a good way, right? Yeah. So I was really trying to catch up, but also I was a little bit mature, trying to do great in school. I started really to be among top students in school. That's how I was able to get a scholarship, a fully funded scholarship to come to the US, because I had good grades. I had a lot of good records in other activities in school. I started to be a leader, to empower women in my high school.
You completely changed.
I did.
What do you think it was that you believed before you had the therapy and the support and after? Like, what was it that really changed in your mind that changed you?
Yeah, so the one mentality that I really adopted was, no matter what, there's a reason to smile. There's a reason to be alive. Absolutely. Life is worthy living, no matter the past. So I can't change the past, but now how can I deal with the present that I have and the future that's in front of me?
You. Yeah,
right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, so that was the shift in my thinking.
I think that's incredible, because there really is no change in your circumstances in life. And I think it's very important, like, for everyone listening and everybody that is going through their own trauma, that to see these examples, it's like the circumstances of your life didn't change. People that were taken away didn't come back. The poverty level was the same, but it was like the quality of life within improved by being able to connect with others that had the same story or the same emotion. And that vulnerability, that self-expression, and feeling like you had the right, and then you took that right back. Yes. I feel like it's so powerful when to be able to acknowledge that and then say, I can make this shift in my mind today.
Yes, yeah. The quote from Brené Brown that says vulnerability is strength. Yes, it is strength. Like, really, really a lot of strength. Like, yeah.
It's incredible.
It is. Yeah, it gives you power. It makes you powerful.
Yeah, maybe it's the hiding. It's the hiding. It's trying to suppress yourself, your true self, that really starts to eat away at your well-being, And so being authentic and then having people accept you for that.
Yeah,
Is that what brings the strength?
Yeah, because you accept yourself first, and you accept who you are, your past, all of you.
Yeah.
No matter how ugly your past is, but you just said, I accept it. That's what makes me, and it makes me beautiful.
Oh my God.
Then you take it from there.
Yeah, and then that builds the confidence and
Yes.
self-esteem and the
Yes.
empowerment, and then you
Yeah.
can spread that love to others.
You spread it to others. When you love yourself, you love other people too. I remember how before I start really pushing through the journey of healing, how I was really having horrible relationships with my friends, with people around me. And when it's not only about you, but spread around with the people around you, it helps you to live well with others, to have good relationships with other people, to have empathy to yourself and to the people around you.
That's right.
To be understanding,
Yeah.
to express yourself and everything.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
very, very true. I love that. And I'm going to make one final point before I ask you my next question, which is the empathy, being able to have empathy with other people. That's so key because I've met a lot of people that have gone through a lot, but that they still can't seem to put themselves in the shoes of someone else and to really care for that person and what they're going through. And it's like they've placed a block, that doesn't allow them to connect with others, perhaps for protection for themselves. Because if they were to then say, I went through that, I'm going to be empathetic, they have to face their own demons at that same time.
Yeah.
And that's hard.
It is. Yeah. It's I'm sure there is a scientific research about this, that people who have gone through really like challenges, like something like a traumatic event, either they will have that empathy, like a little too much empathy, because they know how it feels like to be hopeless.
Yeah.
They know how it feels like not to have a voice.
Yeah.
So what they do is just they try to break the cycle, because they know how it feels like. It hurts, not a good feeling. So I can't wish that to happen to my neighbor. I can't wish that to happen to someone I know. So I would try my best to break that cycle.
Exactly.
Or it would be the other way around. But mostly it's for the people who have lost faith in humanity and who don't feel like, life that...
They're broken.
They're broken. Their heart are so broken. They don't love themselves too. They don't have empathy for themselves. So there's no way that they're gonna have empathy for other people. And what you can wish them is healing.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's healing, and because with healing also comes empathy.
Wow, I love that. Thank you for that. That's incredible. So now, though, now in your life, I love how you've moved on into something so great. And I was interested in knowing, what was it that made you decide to focus on advocacy in your adult life?
Yeah, so that's connected to what we're talking about, how when you have gone through something and you know how it hurts, you don't wish that to happen to somebody else. So that's what happened to me too. That's the story of my life. I know that survivors have been resilient to be able to move forward. It requires a lot of too much resilience. And I have this other genocide survivor friend whose name is Frida Umuhoza. We actually have the same last name.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Yeah, Frida Umuhoza. She wrote a book. She came up with a quote saying that in the school of resilience, nobody graduates.
Huh. What does she mean by that?
So resilience is an everyday learning. It's a lifetime process,
Absolutely.
Especially for survivors. If you think about it, today it's good, you're positive, then tomorrow sometimes you're down, right?
Yeah.
But resilience is it's not a straight line. It goes up and down, up and down. But what makes you resilient is that you were able to stand up from the downs to be able to go back to the ups.
Exactly.
So that what makes you resilient. It doesn't mean that you have been, doing amazing the whole time. So especially for the survivors, we have been trying to really be resilient. And so I do the work that I do because I really think that it's so important to make sure that my fellow survivors also see the light in their dark stories.
Yeah.
And that came from the way I just shared with you, how therapy, sharing my story, helped me to move forward. So I know how powerful it is, when people are given that opportunity. So I have to really to do the best I can. As long as I'm still alive, I have to do the best I can to give that opportunity to my fellow survivors, but also to the other people who are struggling. It's not only about the genocide, but also there's a lot of people who are struggling mentally. And it's so important that those people feel empowered, feel heard, and they have to be supported. They deserve to be supported.
They deserve to be supported.
They do.
And you are doing that work, and you're doing it so incredibly. And I wanted to talk about your initiative, the Women Genocide Survivors Retreat, which your core values there, or your core services are for psychological support and also for that community experience, for the opportunity to connect with other women and share their stories. And so can you tell me more about your initiative and also what the mission is with the retreat?
Yeah, so Women Genocide Survivors Retreat is a program that brings together women survivors of the genocide who specifically experienced rape during the genocide against the Tutsi in Rwanda. So I don't know if everybody is aware of this, but rape is one of the weapons that was used during the genocide in Rwanda, but also it's still a weapon that's being used in different conflict zones. And so these women, as a consequence, they are HIV positive because of rape, and they are raising children that they conceived from rape. As I said, I was born and raised in Rwanda myself as a genocide survivor. I grew up in Rwanda with a lot of survivors around me. And in the summer of 2016, I went back to Rwanda to do an internship. And I did an internship with Survivors Fund, an organization that supports genocide survivors in Rwanda. So there I was exposed to the ongoing challenges of the survivors at an older age, where I was able to a little bit understand. You can't fully understand the challenges that they're going through, but I was able to really see to be exposed to the challenges that they are facing. And my role with that organization was to listen to the stories of those survivors and their children, so that we can use those stories to educate the world about the genocide and its ongoing consequences, and translate those stories from Kinyarwanda to English. So I was listening stories that I have never heard before in my life. Stories of hate, stories of pain, stories of hunger, stories of rape. And it was overwhelming. It was my first time to really meet a woman, even though I knew that rape is one of the weapons that was used during the genocide. But it was my first time to meet someone face to face, sharing with me that story. So that was different from hearing it on the radio. It made a huge difference for me to learn about that from a personal perspective. And I could see the ongoing challenges in the eyes of those women, especially the stories that they carry that are really heavy in their hearts. Some of the women, I could see that they really want to share their stories, but they can't articulate, or they can't find a way to express what they went through. Others, I could see that they are yearning, they are really craving for someone who can simply listen to them.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah. Then I said, how can I be supportive? And drawing from my personal experience of how sharing my story and having people who can listen to me helped me to move forward through the journey of healing, I said I'm going to use the same methodology for these women and see if it's going to be helpful. So I came back to the US, and a year after, I started the Women Genocide Survivors Retreat program that brought together women in a safe space where they can share their stories and help each other to heal. So that's the psychological part of the program. So we offer psychological support by helping these women to have access to different forms of therapy, including creating safe space where they can come together and share their stories. And that's the most powerful tool that we use for the retreat. These women, they come together and they do the job. The healing part, they do it themselves by sharing their stories. We've had women who would come in, and one would share a story of the challenges that she's going through because of the genocide, and the other one would say, I used to go through that 5 years ago, and this is what I did. So because they have gone through the same, it's easy for both of them to connect and understand each other and feel supported. So that kind of support between the women,
yes,
it's powerful. It is powerful. So the other part of the program is like financial support, because a lot of these women live in total poverty. Again, when you're not doing well mentally, it's so hard your life is really, it shuts down.
Yeah.
So they're unable to provide for themselves, many of them. So what we do is that we bring in people who can train them about the basic business skills, and we offer them some loans through the revolving fund.
Wow.
They can start a business and be able to provide for themselves. And this serves as a psychological support in a different way.
Yeah.
When you are able to provide for yourself, you feel empowered.
Yes.
You love yourself. You feel like you're worthy, and that's the first thing that they lose in their lives, that they're missing out in their lives. Because when you've experienced rape, the first thing you lose is just to feel like, the blame, the guilty, and
you feel less than human.
Yes, exactly. So when you are able to be busy, do the work, provide for yourself, it makes you feel alive again.
Yeah.
So that's what the retreat does.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah, and after we meet for 3 days, there is a gathering in their villages. So those who are neighbors, they keep meeting, and if they need transportation, we provide that. They meet and they keep sharing, and they actually move from sharing about the genocide to what they're up to, and work together. We encourage them to do businesses as a group so that they can create a strong support system.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. And that's such incredible work. And honestly, I can truly see how that is such a powerful resource for them. That connection and being able to meet with people who are experiencing the same, maybe have a different level of mental strength, right? Where they've been able to process some of the trauma a little bit differently and a little bit better, perhaps, to then share with the other women. But it's that sort of community that you build, and then providing the resources of, now that you're healing, let's give you some skills to go out and start to take back your life.
Yeah, it's empowering people, because I don't believe in actually sometimes the vocabulary help for me sounds really odd, especially in this context. I always feel like supporting people, empower people so that they can help themselves.
Yes.
Right? That's sustainable and that's powerful.
Yes,
You know what I mean?
absolutely.
Yeah,
and
so-
you've been doing the retreat now for 2 years,
Yeah,
2017 and 2018.
Yes.
And you've already touched a little bit on like the results that you've had. But what have been some of maybe the highlight results that you've seen from the communities that really have like stayed in your mind and motivate you?
Yes, yeah, I have one that I have one. There's a lot, but we had this woman who came to the retreat, and she had given up on taking medication, and she's HIV positive, and she didn't want to take medication so that she can die soon or quickly, or because she had given up on hope. She didn't have hope for the future, so she wanted to die quickly, and she stopped taking medication. I remember the first day of the retreat, she was quiet. She didn't want to talk to anyone, and she even told me that she came just because she didn't have anything else to do within those 3 days, so she just came just for the sake of coming. Otherwise she doesn't even understand the reason why she would be with other people. Then the second day she was actively listening. My eyes was on her for some reason. The second day she was actively listening. The third day she was taking on the whole conversation. She was leading the program. And
Wow.
with her own mouth, she said, it doesn't matter what we have gone through. Life is worthy living.
Oh my God.
She was telling even other women, we got this. We got this. It doesn't matter how... I know. That's that.
Oh my God.
It always sounds like a news story every time I say it. It's just like, it doesn't matter what we have gone through. We can live again. She was mobilizing the whole room. It's more powerful in Kinyarwanda and her mother language, the way she was saying it. And she accepted to take medication again.
Wow.
When I went back to Rwanda 5 months later, I called her on the phone and I said, hi. And I said, guess who is this? She said, oh, I can hear your voice. This is Liliane. I said, yes, I want to see you. I'm back to Rwanda. Even the voice, I could tell. She was like, yes, do you want to meet me at my house, at my business spot? She's already running a business. She is doing amazing. And when I saw her, all I could do was just crying, but tears of happiness. Tears of happiness. She looks different, even physically.
Wow.
She's so happy. She's speaking with so much positivity. And I was like, this is saving a life. Literally, a life was saved from all of this, from sharing our stories, from giving people space to express themselves.
Wow.
And how can I stop to do this
Absolutely.
work?
Absolutely.
After that.
Wow,
Right? And
experience.
that's one example. There's so many others.
Oh.
So...
Oh man, and so this is an incredible initiative that you've created. It's so powerful. And are you looking to spread it to other areas as well that have experienced genocide? Or are you focusing only on Rwanda?
No, I am absolutely looking forward to spreading this around in the world. There's so many women who are suffering. When it comes to war, mass atrocities, genocide, and other forms of conflict and violence, really women are so vulnerable in those cases because of who we are and because of the way this world is set up. It's so important that also we find ways to give women extra support when it comes to violence. So I'm really looking forward to reaching to more women first of all, in Rwanda, it is estimated by the UN that 25,000 women were raped during the genocide in Rwanda. 25,000 women, and I'm pretty sure that it's the lowest estimation, because when it comes to rape, not everyone is able to open up and say that it happened to them, right?
Yes.
So the first thing you do is just to not tell anyone, to make sure that nobody knows that happened to you, right? Because of the guilty, because of the shame that comes after rape. So that's the number that we have as an estimation. So I'm looking forward to reaching more women in Rwanda, of course, starting with my community, but also around the world, to be able to reach out to women and also to the children, also children born of rape. These children are facing intense trauma as well, because imagine being born from a perpetrator and a survivor.
Absolutely.
They are facing identity crisis, and they have questions and deep thoughts that, like me, they try to make sense of things that will never make sense. Why did my father kill people, and why did my mother go through all of this?
Yes.
Right? So it's really not an easy state to be in. So those children really need support, and those mothers, women in general, they deserve to be supported. Yeah.
And is that the reason why you were inspired to help specifically women?
Yeah. Yeah.
And you're right, the children as well. So that's going to be your next level.
Yes. Yeah.
To the initiative.
Yes. Yeah. My next level is just to studying from our neighboring countries in Congo. Unfortunately, people gave it a nickname of Rape Nation or something like that, because really the rape rate there is intense.
Even now,
today, we are speaking.
Wow.
Yeah. This because of the war that's going on in Congo, and the poor nation, and political struggles, and all of that. So it makes it it's a cycle of violence, it's a cycle of conflict, and women are suffering the most in that country. So that's my first move, and many other countries around in the world.
So I know that starting any initiative is not ever an easy task. There are definitely challenges that come with that. What have been some of the challenges that you've experienced to try to grow this retreat and this initiative to help others?
Yeah. So generally, genocide survivors, something that we are facing today is genocide deniers. People who are denying the genocide. There are people still deny that the Holocaust happened.
Wow.
Right? Did you know that? So it's
not.
And the Holocaust. I just mentioned the Holocaust because the Holocaust is one of the well-documented genocide that happened, and people still deny that it happened. So
I don't know.
yeah.
How can they do that?
Yeah.
How can they do that?
It's a stage. It's one of the stages of the genocide. There's dehumanization, there's division, there's the actual killing, and then there's this denial stage that comes afterward. So yeah, so that's one thing that we are facing today. It really breaks our hearts to see people denying an event like that. That really, when we say 1 million people were killed during the genocide, those are not numbers for us. That's my father. In that number, I see my father. In that number, I see my uncles, cousins, a very large number of my extended family. For me, it's not a number. It's the people. It's my blood, right? When people deny the genocide, it's really traumatizing the survivor. It's really traumatic for us. For the program itself, funding is a problem, and it's also really interesting to see how, to see an initiative like this that is saving lives, facing a financial crisis. Also, it's really a problem. It's sad.
Yes, it is sad.
It is so sad. Like, it's so important.
Because it's not that there isn't money around.
Yes, it's just because people have different interests. You know what I mean? So that's why we focus on education first, to educate people what happened, why are we doing what we are doing. Because this is not only about supporting the survivors of today. It's preventing this to keep happening. Right? That's the other thing that we do through advocacy, through creating awareness. And this is to make sure that we don't see anybody else going through what we have gone through. We don't want to see that happening again to any human being around the world. So, yes, funding has been really a challenge, but we are still
pushing on.
Still
pushing on. And I think the education portion is very important because a lot of people don't live in that world. The world of human rights violations and racism and inequality and genocide, So it's educating them and bringing that awareness to it, and then also letting them know, hey, there's a responsibility on your behalf, right? To take action, because I fully believe, and I'm sure you side with this, that there is a responsibility between all countries and all human race to work together so that we can continuously progress in life.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
You know? And so if not, we're going to be divided.
Yes.
And with division, there is violence, and there is fear, and there is corruption.
I always tell people that making this world a better place is everybody's business.
I like that.
It is. And also, it should be a moral responsibility to support people that, like, the survivors and the people, you know, because that's also another way of making the world a better place.
Right.
Make it a better place for those people. And it doesn't matter if it's affecting, it will affect you in one way or another. You know what I mean? When there's violence, when there is atrocity or genocide somewhere around in the world, it will affect you in one way or another. Even if it can be directly not to you, but, you know, we share the world.
We do.
And we have this one world where we have to live in together. So we really need to take care of it together.
And I wanted to ask you, because you're just an inspirational person.
Thank you.
I love how you speak and how you see the world and how you see your role in it.
Thanks.
And when it comes to your driving force in life, what is it? What is it that drives you to do the work that you do?
That's a very good question. I think it's I touched on that a little bit about I really don't want to see anybody else going through what I've gone through. I didn't have a pleasant childhood. As I said, part of my childhood was not really the one that I can wish anyone to have. I don't want my kids to tell stories of genocide. I want them to be telling stories of sciences, to tell us what they discovered in the universe or something like that, right?
Yes.
So I don't want anyone to carry this burden, anyone else to carry this burden in the future. So that's my responsibility, and that's one of my purposes on this
your driving
earth.
force.
Yes, that's a driving force. Secondly, it's because from a personal perspective, I know what it is to go through challenges and when life knocks you down. So I don't want anybody else to go through that. So that's why I try my best to support people as much as I can. And also, no matter what, I always try to keep a positive mindset, to push each other and try to go through life together, supporting each other, and to see humanity as something that's common within us instead of what divides us. We are different, but that humanity is what we share as people. So looking at that, how can we make that the center of who we are? And
and I think a lot of what really helps is really developing and really acknowledging, we are all in this fight together.
Yes.
We really are. And we all want to have a safe life, and we want a healthy family and a good future for our family. But I think that what becomes dangerous is when one person puts their family above the family of another, and the rights of their family over the rights of another family. And that really just speaks to the love that really one person has for many people. And I see it in you. I see it that you have a lot of love for people. And having that love for humankind is what really starts to create like this desire for human race to progress together as one.
Yeah.
It's just, you're a person, I'm a person, and you deserve to be happy.
Yes. Yeah. We need to stop putting people in boxes. I was actually at a conference that I was at in San Francisco. We were talking about that, how we need to stop putting people in boxes because of their political parties, because of their beliefs, because of how they look like. Because even if they're doing something wrong, they're not going to be able to change if you put them in a box. Give them an opportunity to see that with the eyes that they're doing something wrong. At least give them that opportunity instead of putting them in a cage,
instead of oppressing them.
Yes. Yeah. How do you really give someone criticism without making that person feel small? It doesn't matter who that person is. How do you first recognize the humanity, that person is human first, beside all the other things that the person is doing? If we could think in that, within that lens, I think this world can be a better place.
I know. And the question is how to start. But we do little things like this, chip away, right? So little, like the people like you that show up in the world and that spread that message, that is what starts to transform a little bit. I mean, if we allowed ourselves to be silenced, then the bad would overwhelm everyone, right?
Yeah,
and it would overcome everything, and so we have to keep fighting against that.
Exactly. And actually, sometimes when we use this word, make the world a better place, sometimes it sounds like huge, but what that means is as simple as, one, making sure that we create psychological safety for the people around us. That's making the world a better place. That's one easy and quick example that I can come up with. So making sure that your family, friends, co-workers feel safe when they are around you with their story, with who they are, right?
Yes.
That they don't feel judged. And if they have something to share, an opinion or a personal story, they feel safe enough to share that. That's making the world a better place. As easy as just listening and creating that psychological safety for the people around you. Yeah,
your own environment.
Yeah, or a stranger.
Yes.
Have you ever met someone, a
on
stranger, and you start talking and you just be like, wow, you go into a deep story and you end up sharing some personal stories.
Be accepting, embrace that.
Understanding, embrace what we have in common, which is humanity. That can make a big change in this world.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
You're incredible. I was going to ask you what your message for the world is, but I think that's basically it.
I was reading your mind.
Yeah, you were. I think you saw my notes over here.
I am not looking at your notes, but I knew that I have to say this.
So really, Liliane, is there anything else that you would like to share that we haven't talked about already?
So if I go back to the main topic, which is genocide survivors, and especially in Rwanda, it's gonna be 26 years in April. It's gonna be 26 years since the genocide. So sometimes people think that it's been a long time and survivors no longer need support, but when it comes to healing, there's no correlation between time and healing. Because for us who have gone through this journey, the genocide is as clear as if it happened yesterday. So the journey of healing is still really long for so many, and people are carrying visible and invisible scars. People are fighting battles that sometimes you can see or you cannot see. It's so important that we always think about, yes, in that context of the genocide, to support the survivors, but also as I said, also the people around us. People are really carrying burdens that sometimes we are not aware of. So it's so important to have empathy for the people around us and try to be as supportive as whenever you have a chance to support another human being. Do it. Do it.
Do it.
Yeah, just do it.
Yeah,
it will really make this world, our world will become the world that we all want to live in, which is a beautiful word.
Absolutely. There's so much there's so much potential,
yeah,
and we just have to work towards that.
Yes, yeah, it's
great. Thank you so much. And finally, and most important, when it comes to the work that you're doing with the Women Genocide Survivors Retreat, the incredible work that you're doing, that you've been able to implement and see the results of, that are really, really impactful. What is it that others can do in order to help you continue to do this work?
First of all, is to spread the word.
Okay.
Yeah, right. Just let people know the history, because there's a lot that people can learn from that history. And that was the other thing that I actually wanted to touch on a little bit, which is, what can the world learn from the history of Rwanda? What can the world learn about the genocide? If you see the current situation in the climate in this country, starting with this country that we are in, the divide, the racism, the hate, the political climate, I think there's so much to learn about
where this could be going.
Yes. As I said, a neighbor didn't wake up today and tomorrow say, I'm going to kill my neighbor that they had dinner previous day.
Yeah.
It builds up. It's a process. Hate, us versus them mentality. So one is just for the people to spread the word and to learn from our history. Genocide Survivors Foundation, GSF, that's an organization that I partner with in the US. And if you go to their website, you'll be able to see retreat for women genocide survivors. And if you can donate, or if you can share the information on your social media, if you can with your friends and families, that would also be that's a huge support as well.
Wonderful. Well, I'm going to make sure to add in the show notes the link to the Women Genocide Survivors Survivors Retreat donation page.
Yes.
And that's going to be found on the Genocide Survivors Foundation's website, which you partner with.
Yes.
For anybody who's interested in donating or learning more, you know, or even maybe reaching out to you and asking you more about how maybe they can get involved. I'll make sure to add those links in the show notes. And then that way you guys can access that there.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And thank you so much for the work that you're doing. This is
thank you.
what changing the world looks like, right? That's what we're talking about. Because this is action. I believe in action. Don't tell me words.
Don't tell me what you want to do. Show me what you want to do. That's right.
Exactly.
That's
yeah.
right.
We need to take action. Action.
Thank you. And you know, like, it's all a process, right? It's all in development. You see where you want to show up in the world, and you go out and you do that, and then that transforms into something else and something bigger.
Yes.
Right? And then so it's continuously, because it's challenging, like you mentioned, in this political climate. You know, you're going to face people that don't understand why you're doing what you're doing, you know, that don't side with you. And I think that even seeing that in humans is discouraging.
It is.
Because you're like, how can you not care about this? This is like common sense, you know, but it requires that mental strength to say there are going to be those type of people. That doesn't mean that you disqualify those people as people that need to learn. They're the ones that need to learn even more.
Yep.
You know, and so yes, it's all a process, but hey, we're in there working together.
Yeah, we are. Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely, and thank you so much for being on.
Of course.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode. If you enjoyed it and feel inspired and would like to be a part of the Relentless Minds community, you can join the movement for change on Instagram and Twitter. We would also love to know how your experience has been as a listener. If you haven't yet, please go to Apple Podcasts and subscribe, rate, and review this podcast. Join us next week for another powerful story. Thank you so much for listening. Until next time.